All right. We can probably go ahead and get started since we value punctuality so much, and we've got quite a few people watching already. So to get started, first of all, welcome. Thank you for joining us on a lovely Tuesday evening here in Houston. I don't know what the weather is like over there on the Pacific Northwest coast where you are. Is it as warm as it is?
It's gorgeous.
Okay. We had like 100 degrees here, so probably better.
Yeah, we had a hot day yesterday, but today is beautiful.
Oh, lucky. So we are super excited to be bringing this wellness webinar for our RooErs and non-RooErs alike. When Dr. Nell and I chatted earlier about this topic, we both were really, really excited about it, and I'm hoping that our viewers can gain as much out of it as I think we both have just kind of thinking about the topic itself. So to begin, I'm just going to give a brief introduction about Roo, who we are and what we do, and then I'm going to hand it over to Dr. Nell, and she's going to lead this thing. We are both on Zoom and streaming live on Facebook. So if, depending on where you are watching this, you can chat us on Facebook, you can chat us on here. I'm going to be manning it the whole time. So if you have any questions or comments or you want to participate, the lines are open. So just a quick little introduction about Roo. We are a first of its kind relief platform that takes place entirely online. Our goal when we started this was to fill a need, and that need was hospitals are desperately in need of staffing, relief vets and relief techs, and vets and techs are looking for work, and everybody's trying to make ends meet, especially right now in a time of an economic downturn of a pandemic. And Roo set out to serve and fill that need, but also do a little bit more. We want to be a place where people can turn to for support and for community. And we're going to be focusing on that support tonight, talking about work-life balance. And everyone who's seen this posted anywhere has seen that I keep typing it out as one word, and that was very purposeful by Dr. Nell, and she's going to explain to you why. But we're so excited for you all to be joining us, and what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to pass over my hosting duties so that Dr. Nell can introduce herself, and she can handle all of her slides, because I don't feel like I need to mess that up for you. Let's go ahead and make you the host. All right, you are now in charge. Take it away, Dr. Nell.
Okay, I just need to share my screen and then we'll be going. So,
okay. We already have 12 people watching on Zoom, and we are 2 minutes in. So I'm super excited for folks to continue joining us and just have their minds blown.
So we just have had a little bit of a interesting start here.
Oh, good.
Because it says my screen share failed. So
no.
Yeah, I hate
try again.
Fails. I'm gonna try one more time here and see.
And worst comes to worst, you can send it to me and I can share it. We'll make it work.
So we've had that work so many times in the past.
There it goes.
Okay, and then I just need to get it up the way I want it for everyone, and we'll be able to get going.
Yes.
So there we go. Just a slight little bump in the road, and we're all used to that in the veterinary field, and actually in any field. If you're tuning in and you're not a vet, bumps in the road are not a big deal. So before we jump in and talk about work-life, all one word, balance, I did want to just talk a little bit about myself, so that you would know who's chatting with you about this topic. So I'm really, really thankful to Roo and to Lisa for setting this up. And like she said, I'm super passionate about the topic. I am a veterinarian. I graduated from the University of Illinois back in 2004. And after graduating, I became an associate vet. Did that for a few years and transitioned into relief work. So I can really, really empathize or feel what you in the Roo crowd are feeling. And then after about a year and a half of that, I became a practice owner. My husband and I bought a practice in Portland, Oregon. And We owned that practice for 10 years. During that time, I became certified in veterinary acupuncture and traditional Chinese medicine. And I started integrating that into the practice and became really, really passionate about that, as well as in improving happiness in the veterinary field as a whole. So those passions and that yearn to teach and share kept growing, and we ended up transitioning and selling our practice to a wonderful company back in 2017, which has allowed me to really grow people and pet integrative therapies, which is my my own personal woman-owned business around yes, consulting on integrative medicine for patients and how to bring that type of medicine into your existing Western practice, but also just speaking and sharing and having one-on-one coaching around topics like team engagement, client communication, balance and harmony in the workplace. So I am still in the trenches. I do hands-on, and hopefully they won't be like trenches after you take this webinar. It'll feel more like a vacation being at work. Okay, maybe that's going a little far. But anyways, I do hands-on work in Portland, Oregon at the hospital that I sold with my husband. And then I also do this virtual business, People and Pet. And of course, most importantly, I am a pet owner, an outdoor enthusiast, a traveler, and a human. So I'll be speaking from those places in my heart as well as we go through this today. I included, the photo I included for my intro is a picture of me at Camp Sherman, which is at 10,000 feet. It's the base camp for summiting Mount Rainier. And I included this because this to me is like the ultimate getting away from work and experiencing my life. But that's not actually so much what we're talking about today. Today we're talking about work life, all one word, balance. So whenever I bring up work life to colleagues or family or friends, or really anybody, it's always like, what do I do to power through? How do I push through? How do I survive so that I can get away? And so the vision of work-life balance really starts to look more like this, hiking in the mountains, backpacking, getting away from it all, disconnecting, or possibly something more like this, just chilling out, relaxing on the patio with your dog, or having some adult beverages on a beach in Hawaii, or maybe it's spending time with your spouse or your family and collecting lots of Instagram worthy photos to share and make everyone jealous and do some adventure travel, or even incorporating really awesome experiences like performing acupressure on sea turtles in Australia. So what I'm getting at here is that we tend to think about all these awesome experiences we want to have outside of work in order to become more balanced. And what I found through my years of practice and in the many roles that I've had in the veterinary field, especially as a practice owner or anyone in a leadership role, is that no matter how often or how long you get away, the space that you leave behind, it is the space that you come back to. So your problems at work, your disharmonies at work, the things that don't make you happy at work, the things that don't make you enjoy your work life, they don't go away when you do. And so what I really want you to be thinking about as we go through this webinar and this conversation, I guess, and also as you think about, as you plan your getaways, your vacations, your staycations, is the space that you're leaving behind a space that you want to come back to? Is the space you're leaving behind a space that you want to come back to? Really think about that, because when that vacation's over, after you've accrued all of that restorative energy and you're bringing that back into your everyday work life, that energy and your resiliency is going to slowly dwindle as things pile back on if you're not working at all to achieve that balance at work. So what I want to do is I want us to make the movement toward work-life balance. And I know that when you're in a state of overwhelm, and especially right now, I know that a lot of us in the veterinary field, whether we're assistants, receptionists, veterinarians, owners, we are in a bit of a state of overwhelm because we have a lot of backlog from missing out on seeing our regular appointments when we were either shut down or on very minimal hours. And so where I'm just going with this is that I want to help you because I know what it feels like to be in that sort of vortex and not knowing where to start. You know, where can I start to make my work life a happier life? So I'm going to be sharing 6 tips today, just simple 6 tips on how you can make your work life a better life and make that space a space that you want to come back to. So let's just jump into number 1. You got to start out the day with eating your breakfast. And so eat your breakfast, and literally, I mean getting appropriate nutrition, making sure you're feeding the body, that you have what you need physiologically. And for me, that definitely includes coffee. It might not for everybody, but getting what you need physiologically to start the day. What I'm also saying is to create some me time. So if you for me, I would like my morning to look like this photo. I want to be on a sunny garden patio in Bath, England. Well, I can't be there every single day. But what I can do is I can create a me time routine that makes me feel good before I even start the day. And so whatever that is for you, whatever time you need, and for me, it's quite a bit of time. I'll be honest, I get up at 5 a.m. in order to have the me time routine that I want to have before I am through that work door and ready to go at 8:15. So yeah, I carve out 3 hours and 15 minutes. Now, not everybody needs that much time. No, you don't have to, I'm not telling you have to get up at 5 a.m. to have and eat your breakfast routine. This time is about you. And so it can be whatever you want to make out of it, so that when you enter your workday, you can focus on your workplace or on your team, on your patients without resentment. Because maybe you think you can roll out of bed and take no time for yourself and walk in that door and not resent the fact that you're going to go through another 8, 10, 12 hours of time that is not your own. But I promise you, you're just not realizing that that's going on. So I think most of us recognize that once we walk in the door, the time is really no longer ours, but we don't always recognize that we're starting to feel some resentment. And, one of the things that Lisa said is that ROO was formed because there are so many hospitals who are desperate for staff, whether that be doctors, receptionists, or other support staff, assistants, technicians. So the last thing we want to do is enter into a workspace, kind of find a groove, and then realize over time that resentment is kicking in because we're having no time for ourselves, and then want to leave that workspace when actually it's not even that workspace's fault. Okay, so I just really encourage you to make that time, that routine for yourself before you walk in the door. Number 2, clear your space. So as you transition into your workday, you're going to arrive at your desk, and whether that's a desk in a hospital, a desk in a practice, maybe it's a temporary desk because you're a relief vet and you don't always have a carved out space, or you're not familiar with the space, or maybe it's at a computer if you're doing virtual visits. Wherever it is, what I'm saying literally is clear the piles. And this one is so hard for me. And I think my husband's watching this webinar and probably laughing right now because I am a huge pile person. I know it is not feng shui. I know that piles are not good for organization, but I love them. So it's something I have to work on all the time. It is definitely not a project that I have completed. So clear the piles, purge, avoid pileups, take care of things that come across your desk or that you know need to be done as soon as you can, so that you can have a nice feng shui zen place like this photo. We want our places of work to feel more like this, rolling waves, coastline, and palm trees. And we can do that if we make sure that our physical space is not messy. The veterinary field is already messy enough. Like, we already have mess that's a natural part of our job. And I'm sure that's true for many other careers. So we don't need to add to that by making our own messes. What I'm also saying is to make mental space. And this is where I excel. I'm a pile person, but I excel at this. Making mental space, meditating or practicing yoga or qigong, incorporating something like that into that me time routine that's before you even get to work, or any other self-appreciating exercise, which just means an exercise or physical movement or breathing that actually calms your nervous system and helps you clear space in your brain. Now, if you don't have time to do an entire meditation, you can simply just take a moment to breathe and let go of your outside of work stressors before you walk in the door, or maybe right when you sit at your desk. Outside of work stressors are big distractions. Plus, if we want our workplace to feel more like this photo, more calm, more zen, more restorative, then we really need to just let go of that, the things that are stressing us in our life space, okay? And actually, you can look at work as an opportunity to temporarily let go of what's going on in your life space. What a relief. You don't have to deal with this, that, or the other that's going on in your personal life, because for this 8, 10, or 12 hours, you're actually focusing on what you're doing for your clients, your patients, and your team. And as I said, the outside of work stressors are big distractions. So number 3 is minimize distractions. I want to feel more like these photos at work. I want to be 100% focused on the moment. I want to be in the moment. I want to feel mentally clear and calm and collected, so that I can handle not only planned patients for the day, but maybe any other curveball that gets thrown my way. And boy, do we have curveballs in our field. I mean, our field is like, I would say it's a day of curveballs. But we don't need extra curveballs coming in. And you'll notice in the other photo I have here, it's actually a map of me in the middle of nowhere and no internet connection. And so one really easy way that we can minimize distractions, besides letting go of our personal stressors, is to turn off our devices, or turn the notifications and the ringer off. Stop the stream of information, the extra distracting information that's coming in while you're supposed to be focusing and enjoying the moment of your work life. I don't turn off my device because I love the opportunities to take a photo of a patient or a video if I have an idea about something that could help clients. But I do turn off the notifications and the ringer. So, I love being able to take those photos, so I keep that device on, but I'm very conscientious about not allowing the information stream in. And absolutely no texting and trading. You can't possibly be helping that patient or interacting with your team in your fullest capacity if you're also texting while you're talking to them, or while you're communicating the hospital orders for that patient. And I'm sure some of you out there are like, oh my gosh, I would never do that. But let me tell you, this is going on. So if you didn't know it's going on, it's going on. So no texting and trading. And I don't just mean texting, like, don't be trying to create content and actually respond to outside of work stressors while you're working with your patients and your team. Keep the work stuff for work time and the personal stuff for lifetime. All right, so that's enough. I don't want to preach too much about the smartphones. Um, Distractions come in other forms though, besides just smartphones. In our field and many others, distractions come in the form of questions, requests, phone calls, emergencies. And we can't control that those are going to come in. They are. But what I want to communicate here is that you actually have more time than you think, or more control over your time and your reaction, your response than you think. And one of the places where I see a lack of awareness around that on a daily basis is around saying no. So in these photos you see, the first photo is a veterinary assistant completely focused on the computer, trying to get a task done, probably trying to get a prescription filled for a client or get her notes in about a phone conversation she just had. And of course, the doctor completely ignores that, completely ignores that she's in the middle of something because she needs to get something done. Now, it isn't necessarily done on purpose. And what I find is our support staff especially, but doctors too, and we're going to show that in the next slide. It's not all about the doctors interrupting. Have a hard time saying no because we actually feel like we're the second picture. Like we feel like when we say no to our team, whether it's a doctor, receptionist, or another assistant, we feel like we're giving them the hand. Like we're saying, no, I can't help you. But that's really just because we haven't gotten comfortable with saying no. Or maybe we just haven't recognized that there are actually nice ways to say no. So I want to go through a few of those now, give you something to think about, maybe give you some tools that you can use, whether you are the receiver of the distraction, or whether maybe possibly you want to become more aware about being the distractor. So here are a few. If I stop and answer that right now, you might not get the best answer. Can you come back to me in 5 minutes? What I really like about this particular one is that you, as the busy person, as the person that can't actually stop and answer right now, are handing over accountability and keeping the accountability with the person making the request. That way, if you're already busy, if you're already juggling multiple things at that time, it's very unlikely you're going to remember to go back to that person. But if you keep the accountability with them and they know to come back to you, then you're more than likely going to be able to come to a resolution to actually finish that request. The second one is, of course I can help, but I'm right in the middle of something. Can I come find you when I'm finished? Where will you be? So I like this one, particularly if I'm in the middle of a task, or I'm working with a patient and I actually have no idea when I'm going to wrap that project up. And so I don't want to be under the time pressure of that person coming back in 5 minutes to ask me. So in this case, I'm taking accountability, but I'm also asking, where can I find you? Because even in a small hospital, and I think ours is like 2,000 square feet, it's really not that big. A huge time flow killer is looking for people, like roaming around the hospital trying to find the person that you wanted to or need to get in touch with. So find out where they'll be so that you can minimize that workflow disruption. You'll be more efficient. And the last one, I'd love to have that conversation, but if we have it right now, you won't get my full attention. Can we check in right before lunch break? I especially like using this one when there's a case question, like say another doctor wants to check in with me about a case. It's actually going to require me to completely stop what I'm doing, shift my mental focus, take in their information about that case, process that, and then respond. That conversation isn't going to be its best or most meaningful if I try to have it right when I'm in the middle of something else and I really don't want to stop or break my mental train of thought. So what I like about this is I'm saying, let me wrap up my morning, and here I'm giving you a time that we can actually have this conversation, and it's going to be a good one. Okay. So these are just ideas for you. You should take them, make them your own, tweak them. Um, I'm sure there will inevitably be branches that will come off of them at different times. Obviously, they're more appropriate at certain situations. But the point is that all of these responses say no, while they still provide support and a chance for a productive outcome. So you're not actually saying no. You're just saying, I can do better for you. Let's make it work for both of us. Okay. And I really feel like I need to share an example system from our hospital that was generated in one of our team meetings and then implemented by one of our receptionists. And it's called the communication circle system. So I'm going to explain it to you. So how many of you have had this situation? It happens all the time. You're trying to escort a patient. And there are noises going on. There's people asking you questions. In many cases, before the curbside model, it would be your clients asking you questions while you're trying to listen to the patient's heart and lungs. So I use this one because it happens all the time. And in this situation, I've actually taken my patient to a quiet space, but still, still my assistant just really needs something and she can't help herself. So she's tapping me on the shoulder. She's so worried if she doesn't ask me right now, she's going to forget. So then I have the option of giving her the hand and saying, hey, go away, come back later. I can't do this, getting irritated. Or possibly there's a better system. So we came up with these communication circles. What these are indicators. So the S is for second, the M is for minute, and the C is for conversation. So that is to indicate to you how much time this person will need from you. Our system is that instead of coming up to me and tapping me on the shoulder while I'm trying to listen to this patient, Sherry, my assistant, would either hand me one of these circles, set it down by my side, or put it on my desk. Each circle says who it's from and who it's for, so that it's very clear that it's for you from, in this case, Sherry, and then whether it's going to require a second, a minute, or a full conversation. And it even has a little box to check ASAP if it's more urgent. That way, when I come back to my desk or I look down after I'm done listening to that patient, I can see that there's something I need to address with Sherry. I know how much time it's going to take, and I can actually look at my day to see when that's going to work best. So the outcome is that we get to have an interaction more like this. We're both smiling, we're having fun. I'm coming up to see what the conversation is about, so that we can have a productive outcome for both of us and minimize the disruption that was going to occur. So I just love that system. And I also love that it took our whole team to develop it. I've covered a lot about saying no nicely to our coworkers, but in the vet world, it's not just about our coworkers, is it? How can we say no to these faces? And by these faces, I mean these little guys looking us in the eye down at the bottom of the slide. This tugs at our heartstrings. And because we're so bad at saying no, I believe this is one of the most contributing factors to the strains on career sustainability for those of us in the veterinary field, because we really feel the guilt, the pressure, and the stress around saying no to patients. So what we have to do, what I suggest that we do, is that we take the time to ask ourselves a few questions before we say yes, especially in cases where we are experiencing a day of overwhelm, or it's just so busy that we're already feeling the strains from our current caseload. So the first question is, can I or the team, because it's not just about you, and if you continuously ask your team to overextend themselves, they won't be sustained. You won't sustain them in your hospital either. So can I or the team provide my or our best care for this patient? Can we really do this, or would they be better served put in a different time slot, a different day, or referred to emergency, which I know brings on a whole nother meaning right now because emergency wait times are huge. I could probably do an entire webinar on how to create space and prioritize and patient load, but that's not what this is about entirely. So I'm asking you to think about it. Will other patients or clients be impacted? Oftentimes we can't say no to these patients, not so much because it's an urgent matter or it's an emergency. It's that we just don't like saying no to either them or the person that brings them in. Like we have a really good relationship. And once again, by saying no, we kind of feel like we're dismissing them or giving them the hand. But in reality, we have a lot of clients and patients that we have those relationships with. And so before we say yes, thinking about, will other patients or clients be impacted? Is a client going to have to wait in their car for another 45 minutes if I take this patient on right now? That's just one question that pops into my head. So just thinking about the impact from a time and a patient care standpoint. And then lastly, are my choices sustainable? Whoa, that's a big question because it could span, I could be talking about right now that I'm being asked to see that one dog that tore its dew claw. Or I could be talking about my choices over a very long period of time. Are they sustainable? And what I'm saying here, what I'm implying here or bringing out to the table for all of us to think about and converse about is, if we say yes over and over and over again and overextend ourselves over and over and over again, how sustainable do we really think that is? Our field is very stressed right now, especially when it comes to sustainability, mental health. We're losing a lot of our vets to other careers. We're losing vets to more serious things like mental breakdowns and suicides. And that's not just for vets, I should say the entire veterinary team. And so I really hope that this message gets across and that you start thinking about this. Instead of feeling so guilty when you do say no, thinking about these 3 questions, because it isn't just about you. It's about your team. It's about making sure that patient gets the best care it needs, that client gets the attention they deserve, and also that our field can be healthier. Okay. So yeah, saying no isn't always such a bad thing. You don't have to feel bad about it. On that note, I'm going to bring up number 5, tip number 5, breaking and breathing. So break and breathe. Research shows that we are more productive with breaks, and we actually don't need the research to time and time again tell us that. That research has been done in the world of education, in business, and certainly in service-oriented careers like ours. So taking breaks makes us more productive. When we are having trouble saying no, when we are overwhelmed, taking that quick breather, whether that means we just step outside or take a walk, something to reset. So in this, basically what I'm saying with this photo is, I'd like to feel more like I do in this photo when I'm at work. And one habit that I've created that is more of a planned habit rather than one that I practice when I'm feeling overwhelmed, it's preventive. I have committed to always taking a walk at my lunch break, because when I take a walk at my lunch break, I feel more like this photo. I feel more like I'm out backpacking, like I'm getting my meditative walking in. And sometimes that walk is only 5 minutes, and sometimes that walk is 45 minutes. Of course, I feel even better when it's the 45-minute walk, but honestly, I feel the reset button kicking in when I've only been out there for a couple minutes, even just getting out of my general workspace. So stepping outside for a moment. And the other thing, talking about saying no, is saying no to the just one more blank. And what I mean by this is saying no to one more phone call, one more chart, one more task. going back to what I said in the beginning, when I talk about work-life balance with colleagues and others in our field, it's always about pushing through and surviving so that we can get away. Well, this is just another way of pushing through. And usually by the time that you're thinking about, God, I just need to do this one more thing. Should I do this one more thing? You've already passed that point. You've already done that one more thing, had that one more conversation, made that one more phone call, and it's time for you to take a break. So in the interest of practicing what I preach, we're actually going to do a breathing exercise, one that you could do at work when you don't have time to go for a full walk. So humor me and let's do it. I'm going to describe it to you, and then we're all going to do it together. And I just know I'm going to feel even better after we've done it. So we're going to breathe in through the nose for 3 counts, and then pause and feel our full lungs at their full capacity. Most of us breathe very, very shallowly without even knowing it. In fact, almost all of us do. And when we breathe shallow, we actually send a message to our brains that we're in a period of stress. By lengthening our breath and filling the entire lung field, we send the message of calm to our brain and let our brain know that we aren't in a period of that stress. So we want to fill full lungs. Then we're going to breathe out through our nose for 3 counts. Pause and feel the empty lungs. As we're doing this, on the inhale, I want you to really envision that you're bringing in positive energy or calm. And on the exhale, you're letting go of negativity, stressors, or distractions. And I say stressors or distractions because so much of the time we talk about letting go of negativity, not being negative. Well, we're not always in a place where we're feeling negative. Sometimes it's just that there's a whole lot going on, and we just need a minute to clear that out, okay? So it doesn't have to be only when you're feeling bad or negative that you do this breathing exercise. You can do it preventively when you do your break and breathe before you start feeling those negative feelings. So here we go. I'm going to guide you through it, and we'll all do it together. Breathe in through the nose for 3 counts. 1, 2, 3. Pause. Feel those full lungs all the way at the back of your shoulder blades. Out through the nose. 1, 2, 3. Pause and feel your empty lungs. And inhale one more time through the nose. 1, 2, 3. Pause, feel the full lungs all the way at the back of shoulder blades and out through the nose. 2, 3. Pause and feel the empty lungs. Then just naturally inhale through your nose and a natural exhale through your mouth. Awesome. Well, I know I don't feel quite as good as you guys because I had to talk that whole time, but I promise you that I feel much better when I do that, not only at work, but in any space of my life where things are starting to pile up on me. Because like I said, I'm a pile person. So practice that. It really only took us probably 30 to 40 seconds to complete this entire breathing exercise. And even if you're not into yoga and meditation, you certainly, as folks in the veterinary field, understand the physiologic effects of drawing from the parasympathetic or calming nervous system rather than the sympathetic or excitatory nervous system. And that's what we're doing with those breaths. Okay, awesome. So now that we did that, we can go on to our last one. We didn't push through to tip number 6, and we got to save the best for last, or the best for last in my opinion. So possibly the most important tip of all of us have fun on vacation. All of us have fun when we get away, or at least I hope we do. And we need to infuse that into our workday, into our work life every day. I've got some suggestions for you, but of course the list can go on and on. But like I said, you can't always see those possibilities when you're in a state of overwhelm or high stress. So the first one is joke with a coworker. A lot of the photos I took for this presentation were done on a super busy Saturday. And, you know, we already were juggling patients and clients and had a full appointment book. But, you know, my assistants, the receptionists, actually everybody on the team had no problem joining into the photo shoots for me. And it became sort of a humorous exercise, and everybody just had a really fun day. In this picture, you can see I have Sherry giving a back massage to Katrina, who's holding my patient with acupuncture needles in. So it was kind of a silly idea, but it turned out that Katrina actually benefited from that back massage. So joke with a coworker or just do something for a coworker. It will make you feel good inside, and it really doesn't take much time. Or perhaps right now, as many of us are doing the curbside model and we're not feeling as connected with our clients as we would like, take an extra couple of minutes to chat with your client about their plans, what they did over the weekend, what they're doing next weekend, what they've been doing since we've all had sort of a big upheaval in our lives. You know, how's it going for them? You can take that minute to connect with them before you chat about their pet, or after, or even kind of work it into the conversation. It doesn't have to be a lengthy conversation, and I know there's an art around that. So I suggest trying it at the beginning or the end, when you can either segue into talking about their pet or sort of do a wrap up at the end. And also, it's a really great service for many of our clients. A lot of my clients are more isolated than they have been before. My single pet owners or single senior pet owners especially, and they could use your extra 2 minutes. We have more control over our time than we think. We just need to break that cycle of feeling like we're in the vortex and we have to keep pushing and pushing and pushing. Trust me, you can work the 2 minutes in. Another one I really like right now is swapping travel stories with a colleague. I've always loved doing that. So taking a break and having some fun about what do we do with travel, especially right now, being someone who loves international travel and that not even being a possibility, which is so weird. It has been really helpful to talk about or show photos from really awesome trips that I've been so lucky to have in the past. And even just showing you this photo and looking at it on the screen of my mom and my husband on the border of Poland and Slovakia in the Tatra Mountains, like I actually can feel how I felt that day. And it's more overwhelming than being stressed, in a good way, in a happy way. So talk about experiences or travel that you've had. If you're yearning for travel and you're feeling contained right now, super trapped, this is a way that you can start thinking about maybe interesting or neat places you're going to travel to in the future. Or maybe you'll get a tip about some local travel that you can do while we're in this such a weird period of time. Okay. Even easier than that, order a special treat for delivery. It doesn't always have to be a sugar caffeine bomb. It can be some healthy vegetarian Thai, but you know, whatever it is, treat yourself. And you know, just like doing preventive measures before you feel like you're overwhelmed, treat yourself before you're feeling down in the dumps. You'll probably make better treat choices, you know. But do treat yourself. You are out there no matter what field you're in, no matter what space of the veterinary field you're in, whatever role that you hold, whether you're a relief veterinarian that's helping to plug the holes in all of these places that are desperate for doctors and assistants and receptionists, or whether you're in one practice every single day, you know, or whether you're practicing virtually. It doesn't matter. You are working your tail off and you are putting a lot of good energy out there. And one way you can, you know, give yourself a pat on the back is to treat yourself to something that you enjoy. So like I said, doesn't always have to be a sugar bomb. In fact, that's probably not the best choice, but make it something that makes you happy. I love this one. take a minute to have a positive, pain-free interaction with a patient. Especially right now with the curbside model, I have found that this is something that's more possible than ever before. You know, since my clients aren't necessarily in the room with me, I actually have more, or I wouldn't say more time with the patient, but the focus is like all around the patient. And we're so used to getting the tasks done that our patient needs, drawing the blood, giving the vaccine, putting in the acupuncture needles, filling the prescriptions. Take a minute to actually do something positive with that patient that makes them want to come back to your workspace. You know, my patients come, I deal mostly with patients that have chronic diseases or that are super seniors, meaning like, you know, beyond a senior. And so most of them I see every 3 to 4 weeks. You better believe I want my space to be a space that they want to come back to. And so having this positive interaction, like in this case, with my young patient who has renal dysplasia, and we just did a couple sits to help her get more comfortable with being on the scale and providing a treat. You know, it made me feel so good inside, and it made me happy because I knew that I was contributing to her positive experience and that she would continue to want to come back. So do that. It doesn't always have to be getting the task done for the patient. Sometimes it's just simply interacting with them in a way that makes them want to come back. And then of course, their happiness is contagious to you. That's why you're in this field. All right. So, you know, just to wrap it up, get out there, live your life. Yes, I am a huge proponent of the work-life balance. You know, I want to be out there too. I want to be on the beach or climbing mountains or having sunset cocktails with my husband. But also do things that help you to enjoy your work. Practice the tips that I've given you. And you might be saying right now, like, Dr. Nell, you're crazy. I already have no time in my day. I don't know how you expect me to do this. But I promise you, if you just pick one and make a habit around it, you will already be contributing to that more balanced work life, all one word. So start with one, or start with all of them if you can, and make a habit around it. Make it a routine, make it natural for you. And after you've mastered one, move on to the next one. Because like I said, the entire goal of this is to increase and improve sustainability in our field, to bring about a higher level of happiness for you and your team at work, and to make the space that you leave behind the space that you want to come back to. Thank you so much. I really hope that I've planted the seed and that I am cultivating the mission that I have to make the veterinary field a happier field at the global level. And thank you for joining me to help make that possible. You can reach out to me through People Pet Integrative. My email is listed there. You can also find me peopleandpet.com or on Facebook and Instagram. Register with Roo if you're looking for a transition, or if maybe one workspace isn't your ideal work life. Maybe transitioning, feeling out different places, having something, a routine that's fresh and new every single day, which can be done in one place, but for some of us it means actually experiencing different people in different places on a daily basis. Register with Roo, check that out. And then the notes will be from this presentation will be available in the form of a blog at roo.vet, Roo for you, so that when you do master at least one of the tips, you can go back and refresh on the other 5 and bring them into your work life. Thank you so much. And thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Roo. I'm happy to answer any questions if there are any.
So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take this back.
All right.
Yeah. Okay. So we had someone, Petra, there she is, who actually brought up some pretty valid thoughts. So first of all, she did love your description of yourself as a pet owner, traveler, and a human. Obviously, everybody is different in where they find their joy. But she made a really valid point because, talking about wanting to sit down and drink a cup of coffee and have these morning routines, she said, how can I drink coffee through a mask? And honestly, it's, it seems like kind of maybe a sillier question, but truly people's habits have been so disrupted by having to switch to a curbside model or being short-staffed, and really trying to just not upend our entire sense of normalcy. So I thought that was a really good point. And then when you add on to that, the fact that clients are more stressed as well, everybody's sort of feeding off of themselves.
Yeah.
But taking from what you were talking about, I think the idea is really to control what you can control, and find the joy in the moments that you can find the joy, because you can't control anybody else's stress right now or ever, really.
And also you have more, I'll say it again, you have more control over your time than you think. And so that would kind of go, if your requirements are literally that, maybe in your hospital, you can't be 6 feet away from anybody. So you are going to have to wear that mask the entire time, or in your workspace. Taking the break and breathe. So maybe knowing when your break is going to be, like setting that time, and knowing that you're going to be having that break so that you can step outside and have that cup of coffee.
Mm-hmm.
When I talk about the cup of coffee routine as well, I'm also talking about that pre-work phase. So because we are all not only under our regular rigorous work days, but also you throw in all of the COVID stuff, the masks, the curbside, the disruption in the routines at work. It's so important that we do have a pre-work routine. And I think where I was going with the cup of coffee, and I didn't think about so much like infusing that in the workday, is to make sure you can sit down and enjoy one before you get there. That you carve out that time. Maybe you think you only need 15 minutes, maybe set the alarm 15 minutes earlier so that you can enjoy that cup of coffee without distraction, or flipping through your paper or flipping through your Instagram, whatever it is you like to do over a cup of coffee before you get to work. And then bringing in the break to breathe tip, setting aside that whatever it's going to be, maybe 10 minutes where you can step outside, pull your mask off, and have a few sips of coffee. I'm not going to have an answer for everything. What I'm hoping is, and why I didn't focus this webinar specifically on our current time period, is because I hope these tips can be used now and forever. Our field, and I'm sure other careers as well, we had these stressors and these problems before we had to shift everything due to COVID. And these tips applied before COVID. And of course, yes, now it's even more important to have some semblance of self-care. And I consider having a cup of coffee self-care. So, take that either pre-work time or the break time and do that for yourself.
Absolutely. And before we let folks go, after this, there's just so much to think about. One thing that really stood out to me personally, as someone who is in the veterinary field from a staffing perspective, not from the actual clinic perspective, the saying no is valuable, not just in person, it's also valuable virtually. And I know that seems like a weird thing to focus on, but we're doing telemedicine, we're communicating with people in our own home spaces as well. So we sort of feel like, well, I can multitask, I can do my laundry, I can answer these emails. Or, if your supervisor or your boss reaches out to you, you're like, well, I'm sitting at my desk, I can stop and I can come back to it later. But we talk about research has shown we're not actually very good at multitasking. We're not as good at it as we think we are. And being able to say no and say in a constructive way, I can come back to it. It's so exhausting to try and do everything at once. Being able to say no kind of reduces that stress, even if you're not in a clinic setting. And I love those communication circles. I think those are valuable, not just for the person who's being interrupted, but it requires the interrupter, so to speak, to actually take pause and really think about how important is this really? Because in the moment, when you come flying into an exam room, the question has to be answered. But if you're forced to pause and say, is this going to take a second, a minute, or a full conversation? It really forces you to pause and think about, well, is this something worth me getting upset about or stressed out about? And then coming from a calmer place. So I absolutely love that. And I'm going to recommend that to everybody I know. That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's been working really well for us. And I can't thank our reception team enough for actually being the ones that implemented it. So
absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Well,
I was just going to say that with the virtual thing, setting boundaries, because now that, you know, even before COVID, I was already doing some virtual work, and now I see more patients virtually. It's very easy to feel like you should adjust your workday hour because you can, because you have a computer at home, or maybe it doesn't take an assistant to see an appointment after closing hours. You can do it on the computer there. You know, is just mentally having those boundaries of the workday ends at this time, and so making it not even a possibility to see a patient outside of those hours. Or if you're not a vet, like if you're just working virtually, like to not hold a meeting or have a meeting outside of work hours. So.
Yep. It's so easy to just be like, well, you know, I'm already here. I might as well. And we want to avoid that. You got to set boundaries.
Like you said, if it's about taking on one more thing, once again, the research does show that if you start saying no to doing that one more thing, when you come back, you can probably get 3 things done in the time that you would have struggled to get that one thing done without the break. So yeah, so very valid points. I'm glad that you found them useful, and I hope others will too.
I absolutely know they will. Thank you. It is always a pleasure to have your insights. And as you mentioned, Dr. Nell was kind enough to also put this into blog format for us. So this will be posted on our website tomorrow, along with this video. So for those who are more visual learners and want to digest it on their own time, we will have that available. Thank you again. Hopefully our viewers were able to get something out of this as much as I did. And we look forward to whatever fabulous topic we think of next to talk about, because it looks like we're going to have plenty more time to do more of these virtual webinars with the state of the world being as it is.
But that's one of the good things. Yeah. We've realized we can do these.
And we're all still learning. It's amazing. Finding the positive.
Yeah, so it doesn't, it's a positive thing. It's a silver lining for sure.
Exactly. So for anyone who is not already on Roo, as you can see on the screen, our website is www.roo.vet. We're currently only in Texas. We're expanding to California soon. We're getting there. We're inching closer. But for now, if you are licensed in the state of Texas, you can register. We have hospitals all over the state, primarily in Houston, the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and the Hill Country, Austin and San Antonio. It is free to register, so there's no risk. And who knows, you may love being a relief vet if you haven't done it before. So thank you, Dr. Nell. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I hope you all have an absolutely wonderful rest of your evening and rest of your week. Don't forget to wear a mask. Stay safe, stay socially distanced, and happy rooing. We're so looking forward to seeing you next time.